There is this abundance of false information out there surrounding Paraguay residency and also life in Paraguay. So I thought today I'm going to sit down and make a video dedicated to this very interesting and often misunderstood topic and misunderstood myths. I wanted to address some of them. We don't have time to address all of them because it would take hours, but here's some of the most common things that I have seen people say that are actually untrue. One of the biggest myths out there is that you can get Paraguay residency in just one day. I have seen people make this statement all over the internet, including on this platform, but also through advertisements. I had seen people say, oh, just come to Paraguay for one day and we will help you secure residency that day. This is nuts because considering the legal process involved with getting residency in Paraguay, there's absolutely no way on planet Earth that any authorities, including the Paraguayan authorities, would give you residency in just one day. It's not possible. It's just not possible. So what's going on with the statement? Well, some people are trying to lure into getting residency with them because the only way that they can generate sales is by pretending to be faster than other service providers. And that's often one of the biggest selling points that a service provider can put out there. If you can promise that you can deliver the service twice as fast, 3 times as fast, 5 times as fast, 100 times as fast as another service provider, chances of you getting the sale are that much greater. It's a matter of fact. And unfortunately, a lot of people are green behind the ears and they have absolutely no clue how long this legal process should take or can take. Now, one of the problems with Paraguayan residency is that it's not very streamlined, okay? It just isn't. Like in a lot of countries, as soon as you have submitted your residency application, this state residency starts pretty much, even though technically you haven't been approved yet, you haven't received your residency card yet, but based on the action that you took, which was to submit your residency application, it started that day. In Paraguay, that's not the case. You don't get your residency until you have been officially approved, which can take anywhere from 85 days to over 100 days. That's typically the average, right? But if someone promises you, yeah, you can do it like in a day, you just show up one day and you get your residency card that day, maybe they're going to give you fake residency. It's all possible. And it's not the first time. For instance, I have worked with clients in Mexico. They have gotten Mexico residency through the backdoor option and thought that everything was fine until they returned back to the country. They went back to Mexico and learned that the residency they got was actually not legitimate and they were refused admission. Now, this can happen. This is a very extreme case, but it did happen to some people. And you have to be very careful because if a residency card is issued by a government official, maybe they can issue it printed, but it's not in the system. What happens typically is that when you get into the country and you go through immigration, they will see everything. If the card's not in the system, you're going to have huge problems and you may never be allowed to apply for Paraguayan residency again. In life, there are no shortcuts and Paraguay residency is no exception. So be really careful with who you're dealing with, and especially if someone promises something that is so far apart, that's so far off, you have to be even more careful because something doesn't smell right here. And this is just one of the things that I had seen, okay? Incredibly short processing times for Paraguay residency. And in fact, I've seen this in other countries too, and don't fall for it. And obviously I know the process. First of all, I underwent the process myself, and I myself had to wait more than 90 days. Typically they say 90 days and you get your residencia precaria, which is, a statement that says that you can remain in the country until your residence is approved and it states the date. However, if it elapses, then you technically have to leave the country and come back again. That's how it works. Another big myth that's out there is that establishing yourself in Paraguay is easy. It doesn't require any work. It's easy. You can do it like this. And again, this leads back to the traditional marketing trap that you promise something that's a lot easier than it actually is. And this is nothing new in the world of marketing. Moving to a new country, establishing yourself in a new country is never easy, no matter where you decide to go. We're talking about getting residency, getting your national ID card, driver's license, bank accounts, whatever you need done, there is a process involved and there are really no shortcuts. And if someone promises you that there's a shortcut because they have some kind of internal connection to issue these documents faster, then stay very far away from these people because that involves corruption. And Paraguay is now undressing a lot of the corruption that's been going on and people are getting slapped, right? It's a matter of fact. So there are no shortcuts. And by the way, this also applies to people who get citizenship in another country, and some people, they know, say, police there, or they know someone inside immigration that can issue the passport, but it's not legitimate. Why? They didn't meet the minimum stay requirements, they didn't meet the right qualifications, so they had tipped someone off to get residency or citizenship. So don't do that, because eventually the chickens will come home to roost. They always do, especially if you keep going with this kind of behavior. It's only a matter of time until you get penalized for breaking the law, and you're playing with fire, and that's never fun. And once you get burned, you typically learn your lesson. And for some people it takes a long time to learn, because they just don't get caught, or they're lucky, they leave the country, go live somewhere else. Some people get caught very quickly and they learn very quickly, because if you put your hand on the hot stove, it's never fun, right? You're going to end up with first degree burn, or maybe second degree burn, depending on how long you keep that hand on the hot stove. So please don't do that. Even though people promise you, all this, it can be done quickly. And again, this is another big myth that I had seen. For instance, some people promise you that you can get the Cedula at the same time as the residence permit. So the only path that will lead to this outcome is through corruption. And so all the service providers watching this video now, they know what I'm talking about, even though they're going to tell you, no, there's no corruption involved. No. Well, that's what they say publicly, but it is corruption, because in the legislation, that's what it says. So this is the process. First, you get your residence permit. Second, you get your Cedula. And then once you have your Cedula, you can go get your bank account. You can go get other things, your driver's license. You can get your tax number, but the residence is always first. Second is the Cedula, and then you can do the other processes. But if someone tells you that you can get both at the same time, residency and Cedula, you know that they're lying to you. I mean, they're not necessarily lying to you, but they're just not doing things legitimately. And that's the biggest problem, because at the end of the day, the chickens will come home to roost. Another myth is that you can get a Paraguayan bank account without residency. And some people made this statement on the internet, on their websites, or even on other platforms. They made this statement that, yeah, you can get a Paraguayan bank account without getting residency. That's not true. In fact, most average people, most middle-class people watching this video, you have to get residency to get a bank account. It's like that in most countries. And there's a lot of wrong information on the internet that claims that you can get a Paraguayan bank account without residency. No, it's not. If you walk into most banks in Asunción, in Ciudad del Este, in Encarnación, wherever you're located, if you walk into these bank branches, they will tell you, how long have you been a resident of Paraguay? Show me your Cedula. And if you don't have your Cedula, however you want to pronounce it, you're not going to get the bank account. Now, there are some exceptions. If you are a large institutional investor with rather wide and deep pockets, you may get a bank account, right? If you're trying to set up a trade representative office of an existing company of yours from overseas, you may get a bank account, right? But talking about personal bank accounts for middle class, working class people, you're not going to get it. And so there's so much false information out there that you can only really debunk if you're doing this process all the time, which our company Nomad Elite is. And we don't mislead people. We don't tell people that you can do certain things in less time, or we don't involved in corruption, because there are no shortcuts in life, and we don't want to associate our company with that. First of all, we are not incorporated in some sketchy jurisdiction where we don't have any compliance. We have a lot of compliance, so for us as a company, that's just not possible. And that's also another point, that you want to be very careful who you wire money to, right? Which we're going to get to in a later point. It's also very, very important. But technically, no, you cannot get a Paraguayan bank account without Paraguayan residency. Some exceptions apply, such as investor accounts, business accounts, like certain types of corporate accounts. And maybe if you're like a high net worth individual and you want to open up a certain type of account, it may work for you. But for the average person, for a middle class person, no, you can't get it. The next big misconception is that you can get by with just English. Oh, that's so wrong. I had seen people on this very platform make videos about how English is enough in Paraguay. And then if they were questioned about how do we actually, live in Paraguay without Spanish, what their answer was? They said, well, I use Google Translate. And they're like, well, I never lie. You already lied right here, because if you're using Google Translate, what does that say? It says that you can't get by with English, so you have to translate one language to another and then show that message, show that translation to a local person who has to read it in Spanish. So you are using Spanish, because English is just not enough. It's not about whether you can use English, but what the end output is, and in this case it's Spanish, they're hypocrites and they don't know what they're talking about, right? And so because of that, no, you need to speak Spanish to get by in Paraguay, and even more so in the rural areas, and even more so in the smaller cities. Now, if you live in Asunción, if you live in one of the nicer neighborhoods, you're going to find more people that speak English. Why? That's just where the international schools are, or where the people live who go to international schools, and in the international schools, guess what? You have English, right? So naturally, Paraguay is an emerging country and there is a growing English speaking population. I mean, people who are bilingual. And so, yeah, you find more people today than you did probably 5 or 10 years ago. I think that's very true. But to get everyday things done, you need to speak Spanish. It's just a matter of fact. Now, there are some workarounds here. You can hire a personal assistant who is bilingual in Spanish and English, and that would be a shortcut. But in order to achieve this goal, you have to pay money. The good thing is that the minimum wage in Paraguay is actually very low. So you can probably, hire someone for $400 to $500 a month. Now, the younger people, they want to get a little bit of a higher salary than the older people, but you can find some people that are bilingual, right? But it's going to get hard, so I'm going to be brutally honest with you about that. This is not like the Philippines where most people speak English and Filipino. No, in Paraguay, most people don't speak English. And especially the older people, it will be way harder to find any person that speaks English, right? I mean, a decent level, like finding a person with a decent English level will be very challenging. Now, when we're talking about millennials and Generation Z, it's going to be easier. But if you want to get like Generation X or a boomer to live with you, to hire as an assistant, then that's going to be challenging. You're not going to find a lot of people that speak English. They exist, but they're rare. So the best chances are to go with a younger person, offer more than what the median wage is, because that's how you create loyalty and that's how you establish yourself as a foreign person in the country, and simply offer them a better deal, treat them better, be nicer to them. And that's how you can find people that are bilingual. But to say that you can get by with just English is just not true. It wasn't my experience, and it wasn't the experience of the people that we work with all of our clients. They know that you need English in Paraguay, and we work with a lot of clients. So this statement is false, and these people are hypocrites. Paraguay is too dangerous. This is another big one, a very common one actually. Have you heard this one? I've heard it on numerous occasions. I've heard people say, oh, Paraguay is too dangerous. You are gonna get robbed. People are gonna break into your home. You're gonna get mugged. All these kinds of statements, I've heard them numerous times. Now, this didn't happen to me. Totally was not my experience. And I walked outside with my dog tons of times at night where it was completely peaceful and there was nothing going on. There was even slightly dangerous, and I had never seen anything, and I've lived in different neighborhoods in Asunción. Now, I've heard incidents of females getting mugged. I've heard that in sketchier neighborhoods. That personally never happened to me, never happened to anyone that I've met, but I have heard these stories. I don't know why people are publishing these stories, especially on the internet. Some people are very persistent. Maybe that they don't want that people move to Paraguay. I don't know. I do believe that this stuff happens, but it's not super common, okay? Now, if you go to one of the more dangerous areas, there are some in Paraguay. So if you go there, and again, I didn't have these experiences, but I'm sure these areas exist. Now, there are countries in Latin America that are much more dangerous than Paraguay, including Venezuela, including Colombia, where you hear tons of stories of people getting drugged, killed, all kinds of things, it was all over the news. So, while these countries are for sure beautiful, I do believe they are more dangerous. Statistically speaking, these countries are more dangerous. But in Asunción, Paraguay is not that dangerous, right? So that's just my personal experience and the experience of the people who I know. I had never met anyone who anything bad happened to in Paraguay, anything major. I've never heard a story, not from anyone, not from the people I work with, not from our clients, from nobody. Last but not least, you can get residency for less money than what Nomad Elite charges. Now, this is one of the things that we hear a lot, and one thing I wanted to say here is that we are a full package relocation agency with characteristics that a local company just can't offer. They don't have the 14, 15 years experience that I have in offshore company formation, offshore banking. I've lived on you know, so many continents. I've lived in Asia, I've lived in Europe, I've lived in North America, I've lived in South America, you know, I've been to all continents except Antarctica. I've had companies on many continents and still have today, and also know a lot about tax laws, right? So when you buy our services, you don't just get residency, and that's where the misconception comes in. People are like, yeah, you can get residency for cheaper than what Nomad Elite charges. We don't just offer you residency, we offer you a relocation package that most companies just can't offer you because, first of all, they don't have the experience. They don't, you know, have so many years under their belt. They don't know enough about tax laws. They've never lived in the US, they've never lived in Europe, they've never had companies on all these different continents, right? They don't understand the tax structures. They don't have enough boots on the ground experience. They just don't have these values to offer you. And so it's possible to get just the residency for less, but as a foreigner, as an American Canadian immigrating to Paraguay, even just getting residency, you need a lot more than that. You need someone who understands taxes. You need someone who can help you with additional processes like setting up the bank account, like getting your Cedula, driver's license, you know, giving you training, giving you consultations. You need someone that's versed in different areas, and so most people just can't offer that because they haven't been around the block. And so in life, often you get what you pay for, you know. A Lexus doesn't cost the same as a Kia. Okay, it's just a matter of fact. It's a better car. It's the luxury version, and it's actually great value for your money. Now, we are Lexus. When it comes to car, we can put this comparison up there. We are Lexus, we're Genesis. These would be our brands. We're not overpriced BMWs, we're not Ferraris, we're not. We are cars for middle-class people that middle-class people can afford. And we offer the best service in the industry. Why? Look at our reviews, look at how we conduct business. And then another big thing is that a lot of people don't point out is that we are incorporated in the US and we're incorporated in Europe. So we can be held accountable. If you wire the money into Paraguay and they don't do anything, they don't help you out, you will not get anything for your money, right? And they're not going to be held accountable. Why? The rule of law in Paraguay is present, but it's just not as strong. So being an American company makes a big difference, and we have a lot of compliance, whereas a Paraguayan company, or if you wire the money into Mauritius or some other place, some tax haven, you may never see your money again. Why do you think other companies in our space have run up so many complaints and legal disputes? Because clients have reasons to go after them, right? And we don't give you some crazy contract to sign that removes all responsibilities that a company like us should carry when delivering a service like a residence permit. We don't do that, right? And we're really built for the middle class. While we do have high net worth individuals as clients, the majority of our clients are the middle class. The middle class is really the heart of our company. And so we work by different set of standards, a different set of rules. So given my lifelong experience being a nomad, you know, being in offshore company formation, being in business, you know, living in so many places, and the fact that we're incorporated in the United States and Europe, and the fact that we have a local team in Paraguay, which a lot of the offshore companies don't have. They just contract. You know, they have contractors who they outsource work to. We don't. We have a real team in Paraguay, and they're employed by our company, right? So there are some key differences here that people don't see. And the biggest of all is that we just offer a ton more value. Well, we are a relocation agency. We offer residency, we offer company information, we help with the national ID card, your driver's license, education enrollment for your kids, healthcare, we help you with transportation, you get consultations with us, even with me. I mean, that has to cost something, you know, and I'm not some unknown person that, you know, can't be held accountable. So these are really the key differences. So, you know, with us, you get a Lexus, you get a Genesis, right? If you use another company, maybe you get a Kia, or maybe you get some unknown car that nobody has heard of, that nobody wants to have, you know, where the moment you reach 60,000 miles, the car falls apart. You know, we're not that kind of car. We are a car that you can drive up to very high mileage. We are a reliable car, and we are the best value in the industry. Are there any other myths that I did not debunk in today's video? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you're interested in obtaining residency in Paraguay, open up a bank account, incorporate a company, or just get settled in Paraguay, please contact us. You should see our website displayed right on the screen. There's also a link below the video. Please check us out, book a consultation. We would love to work with you. Thank you so much for watching Nomad Elite. We truly appreciate you, and we see you on the next video.